Who is the closest athlete in sports to have Shaq-like dominance?
Giannis is like, he's the best center in the game, really. That's in the modern game. That's really the position he plays, kind of. He plays big in the playoffs, too. That's why he can't get his own shot the way you think maybe he can when you watch him in the regular season. And that was Shaq. Understand, Shaq was unstoppable. What'd he say? He's a freak. The freak. You know, what did Shaq say about his nickname, Superman? No one can have it. Until he saw this guy, said, yeah, this guy can have it because he goes hard to the paint, right? Here's the thing about Giannis. Like Shaq couldn't win a championship until he had a superstar-level guy who could get his own shot playing with him. And even Penny wasn't enough. And they had a crew. Penny and a crew wasn't enough. Kobe Bryant was enough. Dwayne Wade was enough, having the best final series since Jordan, right? That's what Shaq needed. It's not that Shaq wasn't unstoppable and totally dominant. It's that style player needs that. Now, Giannis has a really nice team built around him. He doesn't have someone like that. So even if he doesn't win a championship this year with the best record in the league, he is still the most like Shaq in any sport that we have right now.
Well, I think you think of Shaq, you put him on a team, you automatically become a title contender, a player like that. And I went to individual sports. Maybe it's unfair to do that, but I think of somebody who, when you put them out there, they play the game differently than other people. And they are impacting the game in a way that everyone has to adjust. That's why I went with Serena Williams. While she is not at her peak, when Serena Williams was playing, she looked differently than everyone else for a number of reasons, and she played differently than everyone else, and everyone had to adjust to her. The other person, another individual athlete that I thought of in this situation was Tiger Woods. Again, somebody that was so great and so talented and so unique that they start changing courses, and as soon as he shows up, he is the prohibitive favorite. So those are the type of people that I think of. I guess you can't use the same analogy. You drop on the team, they become dominant because they are the team, but there are people who change their sport, and I see Shaq as that type of person where when he came in, everyone looked up and was like, oh my gosh, that's different. We haven't seen that before. And I think the same is true for Giannis, but Giannis hasn't reached that level necessarily for Shaq because Shaq was clearly the most dominant player in the NBA when he was at his peak.
Yeah, see, the today part stuck with me because I thought about somebody like Serena Williams because that I think would be an example. Because the thing about Shaq was, you almost have to separate this from like winning and team success and stuff like that because for Shaq, that was always an up and down proposition. But like the dude showed up in the league, I'm bigger than everybody else. I'm actually quicker than most of you dudes. There's something physically about him that just makes him stand out above everybody. I went with your boy Mahomes on this one just because that arm and everything that he can do with it, this is purely something like, what are we here to do with that? Because I couldn't really think of like a football player right now that was just so physically dominant that just by virtue of sheer size and like how in the world did this happen, that would be it. So who dominates just on what they can do with their bodies before we get to anything else? That dude right there is the one that goes. So for me, it's not necessarily about whether you're physically overwhelming people in the way that we think about with Shaq. Just what can your body do that you're just like, I can't believe humans can do this.
I think you both picked MJ. Like, Tiger Woods was the MJ of golf, right? Like, he towered above the field. Serena towered above the field. Mahomes right now towers above the field. 2 years in the league, from MVP to Super Bowl MVP. That's MJ stuff, right? Shaq was among the best, for a time the best, but it was more like the day, you said it, as soon as he stepped out. I remember the first All-Star game. The Western Conference was like, MJ won MVP of the All-Star game because the Western Conference was like, this rookie is not going to be MVP. They're playing 5-on-1 every time he touched the ball. Like, it's got to be someone who's physical, like Zion could do it, but not yet. But he could be, he's just physically different.
But that's why I'm surprised he went with Giannis, because the thing about Shaq was, even when those teams were winning, there was nothing you could do with Shaq. We've seen people do it to Giannis, right? We've seen them figure out how you can shut that down with Shaq. And I guess in part, a different game at the time because it was harder to double team. But we know what teams are going to do with Giannis. With Shaq, you just got to hope that these other dudes just go sorry for the rest of the game.
This is just like, I think, a credit to Shaq because I don't think any of us are wrong, but we all like different people for different reasons. And I think the reason why I liked him and the people that I chose is because he was just different and special. He came in the game, we were like, wow, what do we do with that?
Really made an impact.
And he made an impact that everyone had to then adjust to. And I don't know that Giannis fits in that category necessarily, where he comes in the game and he's certainly unique, but it doesn't seem like there's adjustments that have to be made.
Chamber, like, you know, it was
well,
the
I mean,
reason
that's,
it went.
That's Shaq, though, right?
Shaq is so clearly the inheritor of that, just physically. There's no perfect match. And Embiid is a guy with a big personality, too, who can do a lot of things. But there's a reason Shaq looked at Giannis and said, okay, fine, Superman. Not only is he
that's
freakish,
because Shaq has some dysmorphia about his ball handling. Like, the idea that Shaq looked at Giannis is like, that dude reminds
Shaq
me of me.
for a big guy.
For a big guy, Giannis can handle it for a little guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the guy that gives the ball to the top of the key that operates as like a guard, as their point guard.
But you could actually that's how you shut Giannis
They never
down,
did that with Shaq. You're saying Shaq is capable, it's just not the way that they played.
Shaq talks about how he laments the fact that he played in an era where he wasn't allowed to do that more, although that was probably for the best. But the point about Giannis is he's a freak, and he has an aggressive mentality at all times. Like, Shaq was not a guy. Patrick Ewing came in with bad knees, and so he's shooting fadeaway jumper. That was never Shaq. Shaq never went to something like that. Shaq was taking it hard in the paint, the entire time.
Well, he was also commanding a double team all the way to the end. Remember, I think that year he was with Cleveland. I think they had a playoff series against Chicago, and Joakim Noah was just stuck behind him like, yo, man, what am I supposed to do with this? And this is the end of Shaq once we get there. What I remember with Shaq is his rookie year, he basically went on a tour and said, I'm going to bang on every good center in the league. He banged hard on, like, Ewing got it, Olajuwon got it, Alonzo Mourning came in with him. You could get it too. I'm sure he gave it to David Robinson because that's just what he lived to do. Like, in basically the first half of the year before the All-Star break, it was like, I am here and nobody can do anything with this. Then came back the second year, scored like 22 a game the first year. Came back the second year scoring 30 a game. Like, the arrival was bananas.
The best quote ever about Shaq to me is what Yao Ming said after the first time he played. You remember this? He said it was like playing a meat wall.
Wow. I like that.
Is that a compliment?
A meat wall. But it's like Yao Ming's 7'6", and he's like, I just can't do anything with this dude physically. He's too strong.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.